I promise
Sorry.
I promise you that by halfway through this presentation, you will have some new ideas about what to snack on or prepare for your next meal to help shift your body into a much better place. Just a little disclaimer, this is for informational purposes only. Contact your healthcare provider for personalized medical advice. This presentation is going to be based on my book, Optimize Your Immune System, Create Health and Resilience with a Kitchen Pharmacy. And this is going to be about strengthening your immunity and your body in general with a food as medicine approach. And that is one of my favorite things to speak about. I have counseled people with this approach for years, and it's the way to simplicity, but it also delivers. Now, one of the reasons why I've taught on this for so long and wrote about it has to do with my personal story. I believe as a result of that story that every virus should be avoided at all costs, and that includes the common cold, the flu, respiratory viruses that now circulate all year long, and also aggressive viruses, which will continue to enter our communities. I had a virus 22 years ago, and it didn't have a fancy name, but it left me with a number of long-term problems. Now, thank God I've had about an 85% healing from that. But viruses, even simple viruses, can leave you with lasting physical and cognitive problems. This has been around for at least 30 years, being called post-viral syndrome or chronic fatigue syndrome, and more recently being called long hauler syndrome. But it's all the same. It's damage that results from the presence of a virus in your body. And so that's why we're here. We want to learn about aging gracefully and also just having less downtime, suffering, sick days, and the cost of infections that most of which can be completely avoided. This is a message about hope, because you can absolutely prevent most viral infections and also reduce many of the pains and inconveniences of aging. We're going to talk about how you can replace fear and helplessness with information and everyday wellness tools, some that you probably already have in your kitchen or elsewhere in your home right now. You can use science-based strategies to strengthen your immune system at every meal. And this is why I pivoted from research into teaching, because I thought that my time could be much better utilized by actually getting the information out to people, because most of the information and research really, we never hear about it unless a news channel is looking to sensationalize something. So that's why I decided to do this, where I drill down the research into simple action steps. The good news is that your immune system renews itself every 100 days. So right as we're sitting here is an opportunity to develop new, more robust immune cells. And you are the primary guardian of your health. Your lifestyle choices have a direct impact on how you age and how healthy you are. And those include sleep, activity, mood, and avoiding chemicals. So that's hopeful, because this is something that you have charge over. And so we're going to give you some information so you could really sit at the helm and make great decisions for yourself. What will you learn? Well, with the goal of drastically reducing sick days, we're going to speak about using whole foods to boost health, the 5 critical nutrients that are absolutely essential in order for your immune system to run at full throttle. Superfoods that can derail infections, and the action steps for my 3 phases of immunity. Everything we're going to be speaking about is in the realm of prevention. And that's why it all has to do with those decisions that really start when your feet hit the floor in the morning. Am I going to get outside? What am I going to have for breakfast? Do I have a plan to connect with people? Do I have a dinner plan? Phase 1 is priming. Those are your daily choices that establish a foundation of robust immunity. And then phases 2 and 3 are about the reinforcements. These are short-term antiviral supports that you'll get from your kitchen pharmacy, which I'll tell you about. And this is when you've been exposed to a sick person or you feel like something is coming on. And that's when you're going to have items right on hand, and you're going to find out exactly what to eat, what to take, and how much. Do you ever think about your immune system? I know I didn't until I had to. We buy umbrella health insurance policies to cover our stuff, our house, and everything we own. Well, your immune system is an umbrella policy of preventive health, head to toe. In addition to protecting you against viruses, it protects you against what I like to call the dreaded ABCs of aging: arthritis, brain drain, and cancer. And that's why it's so important, because it takes care of every aspect of your health. We're going to speak for a moment about viral transfer 101. Let's say you're at a gathering, a meeting, work, family party, maybe you're on a train, and someone there is a viral spreader. They may not know that they're sick, but they're carrying a virus. They don't know they're sick because they're at the very beginning when you don't have symptoms. And you're breathing in those viral particles in, and they go to your nose or your throat initially. And they sit there, sometimes for a few days, replicating, and then they move down to the lungs, where you get mass replication, and that's what leads to illness. Well, let's say you use the same spoon that they use for baked ziti, and then you scratch your nose. Well, now you've given entry into your nasal passages and your sinuses and throat to this virus. The time to intervene, and this is really where the power is right at exposure. But you don't always know you've been exposed. So the next time would be when you feel like something's coming on. The idea with using reinforcements in stages 2 and 3 is to decrease and then completely stop viral replication. And that's really quite easily done when the virus is in your nose and your sinuses. And the whole purpose is to stop it before it travels down further into your body. Now, all that I'm speaking about is based on research, and this information actually started to emerge 30 years ago. And I'm going to give you just a few snippets of the research titles. As we are speaking, there are researchers in labs at big universities and at the NIH, and this is exactly what they're looking at. Vitamin C and the common cold, green tea and the flu, vitamin D and respiratory tract infections, sleep and pneumonia, rosemary and its role in virus replication, and even chicken soup. So it's really wonderful because this is research that allows us to, with confidence, build a kitchen pharmacy with products that we know have been tested and are shown to be effective. So I'm grateful to the researchers who are doing this work. We're going to start in phase 1 with Whole Foods 11. These are 11 of the most robustly researched features that have to do with what you eat. And here are the first 8. Eating a plant-focused diet. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to be a vegetarian. It's just a suggestion to consider eating larger quantities of vegetables. For example, working towards having a half plate of vegetables at each meal. Daily probiotics, and we'll speak more about these later. 1 daily superfood, having a colorful variety. So for example, maybe having 5 different colors each day. Green leafy vegetables, either in the form of a salad with kale or arugula or cooked spinach. Carbohydrate balance, that means the amount that your body tolerates, and a generous amount of herbs and spices. Number 9 is having a healthy balance of fats and oils. When we see pictures of healthy fats, we often see what's on the right here. Olive oil, salmon, nuts, avocado. And those are all great and should be in your diet every day, at least 2 times a day at the very minimum. This is a picture of your cell membrane, which is pretty much what your entire body is made up of, is cells. The yellow part here is a fatty outer layer made up of saturated fats. And what that tells us is that in order for your cells, meaning your entire body, to function, you need to have saturated fats in your diet on a regular basis. So in addition to these sources of healthy fats and oils, I do recommend having some saturated fats, either coconut oil, full fat plain yogurt, or butter or ghee. Now here's a real simple way to do several of the things I just spoke about in one dish. Make yourself a large salad that includes a different variety of colors, plus green leafy vegetables. And then perhaps top it off with some nuts and a salad dressing made with olive oil, with your healthy fats, and the nuts will give you some protein. And then add in a probiotic. Now, this is miso, which you can blend, like 2 teaspoons into your salad dressing. It's kind of chunky, but this will deliver a hefty dose of probiotics every time you have a salad, which you can easily do every day. And it's easy to make your own salad dressing. Most stores sell powdered Italian seasoning mix, and you can use that as the base. But you would have to put this into a blender to kind of make it smooth. Here's another simple idea. Saute onions and garlic, or if you want, even fresh ginger, in coconut oil. I happen to love this one. It's a butter flavored coconut oil. And then throw that on top of your vegetables. And this makes it so easy to consume a larger amount of vegetables because it really enhances the flavor. Okay, now your turn. Of everything I just mentioned, write in the chat one thing that you would consider doing maybe today or tomorrow. Now I'm just going to swing back to the main slide there. Okay, so it could be any one of these things. It could be adding in a healthy fat. Or one of these ideas. Okay, I'll give you a moment to type in your idea of the first thing. And remember, it's all about keeping it simple. What's easy, maybe it's something you already have in your house, something you can easily get the next time you go grocery shopping. Okay, let's see. If you don't know how to use the chat, you can unmute yourself to tell me. Okay, if you think of something as we're going along, feel free to write it in. So I'm going to continue. So we stay on the schedule.
Professor,
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, Francine.
thank you. Do you in any way know what a diet for irritable bowel disease should be?
The diet book.
I'm sorry?
The
Is
diet
there a book?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm sure. I would have to look. There's a book called The Gut Fix that you might want to check out.
The Gut Fix?
Yes.
F-I-X.
See if that's still in print. Yeah, F-I-X. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, this is really interesting. This is a picture of what's happening in our environment. We love meat, and so we're giving more and more land over to raising livestock, which means we are coming in closer contact with the animals. That means that a virus that is in a cow is much more likely to jump over to the human population. So number 10 was eat less meat and more legumes, which means lentil soups, pea soup, bean salads, beans, tofu, any way you like them. A little bit less, just a trade-off, okay? Now, in 2003, the American Public Health Association issued a moratorium on CAFOs. CAFOs are what you see on the right here. That's how your meat is raised. It's called a concentrated animal feed operation. Typically, they are in a few inches of filth, and that's why they need continuous antibiotics so that they don't get sick from the filth that they live in. Now, they went on to say CAFOs are the point of origin for pandemics. I'm going to give you a moment to take that in. Since they create the perfect environment for pathogens to be transmitted from livestock to humans. So number 11 of my Whole Foods 11 is to consider, if you are a meat eater, to eat less, number 10, and then to purchase grass-fed meat because it does not pose the same risks. It's much healthier meat, so it's better for your body, and it's much more humane. Now, this is one place that I buy from online, and there are many farms in our area now that are following similar practices. I recommend going to this website and looking at their practices for raising animals And you don't have to buy from there. You can look at Long Island Farms and see if you would like to purchase your meat from one of those. Much, much, much healthier for you, for the plants, for the animals, for the planet. The big picture here is to fill in nutrient gaps, because you can only hope to prevent or at least delay those diseases and discomforts of aging if your body is completely nourished with whole foods that supply the nutrients. And the best way to do this, the big picture, is simply crowd out these processed foods with whole foods. So as you introduce one item per week, for example, or maybe even per month, there'll be less and less room for this. And I'm not saying never ever eat this. It's what you do, like 80% of the time that's most important. Here's another easy fix. Herbs and spices are the equivalent of greens on steroids. These tiny leaves are packed with nutrients, fiber, and other compounds that support your cells. And anti-aging is all about cell health. I recommend getting parsley or any herb you like, except basil, because basil doesn't last. Wash, chop, and keep it in your refrigerator so you can easily add it to salads, soups, or any food that you're eating. And this is especially great if you have a day where you haven't had your greens, because just a handful of this herb is going to supply you with a tremendous portion of nourishment. Now let's take a look at what might hinder immune function. And that's really one, excess antibiotic intake from those CAFO animals, and also toxins. Toxins take up places in your cells that block the nutrients from getting in. I recommend swapping out your plastic containers for glass or stainless steel. I love these lightweight stainless steel containers. A lot of the stuff I'm mentioning, you can also find on my website, so you can see where to get them. Toxic cleaners and things that you put on your body, makeup, toothpaste, mouthwash, moisturizer. Moisturizers, by the way, don't sit on your skin. They're absorbed into your bloodstream within seconds. I recommend taking an ingredient from any personal care product or household product and putting it into Google, preceded by dangers of. You'll be very surprised to see what comes up. Okay, and then inflammation. This is the enemy. Too much inflammation, which we call chronic low-grade inflammation. And this is something that most of us, or many of us, have. It's silent, and you can get it tested very easily by asking your practitioner to look at your HSCRP, which should be less than 0.5, and a measure of sugar and carbohydrate balance, which is your A1C, and that should be less than 5.1. If you have any questions on these or anything else, by the way, just put them in the chat, and at the end, I'll go over your questions. But you don't need an appointment to have these tested. You can just ask your doctor or any practitioner to electronically transfer them to your local lab. High intake of processed foods causes inflammation, excess abdominal weight, too much time on the couch. We want to move our bodies every day, and even mood. having a bad mood can actually have a physical effect causing inflammation. Inflammation is at the root of most disease. So in terms of aging gracefully, this is really, really important because by getting your inflammation under control, and remember, you don't feel it, you're setting yourself up for really moving forward in a healthy way. Now, I don't want to oversell the idea of aging gracefully, but isn't it so much better to get something when you're 80 than to get it when you're 50 or 60? Because if you get it earlier on, it has more time to get worse and cause suffering. Now, wrinkled skin is an example of inflammation plus the normal and natural process of aging. So these are some of my favorite skin foods because they're very anti-inflammatory. It's everything you see here, and the oil from salmon or any fatty fish such as sardines, and then berries. Everything that you're learning here today can also help you to look better. It's a difference between premature aging of the skin and this, and it can be accomplished with food and lifestyle. Speaking of lifestyle, there are thousands of studies on how our lifestyle can either strengthen or completely derail the function of our immune systems. For sleep, I recommend getting the amount that's right for your body. Daily activity, even if you can't get out, walk around your home. Now, I know a woman who lives upstate New York, and she's probably about 75. And she told me last year that she walks even when it is 4 degrees outside. Now, that is not right for everybody, so you need to check in with what's right for your body. But I started doing it last year, walking when it was like about 30 degrees, which normally I stay inside. And I have to share with you, it was the most invigorating and refreshing thing I have ever done. So if it's right for you, I can really encourage you to bundle up and get out in the sunshine, which is also good for your mood. Sunshine is also good for your sleep. And if you have limitations, just at least get by a sunny window if you can. Now, mood is part of life, okay? Things happen that cause grief, distress. But if you have an ongoing situation where you're feeling sad all the time, overwhelmed, anxiety, holding on to bitterness, envy, any of that, I strongly recommend getting help for that, because I can actually tell you personally, the time that I am most vulnerable to getting sick is when I am under stress. And that has not only my personal experience, but it's shown in the research that stress, acute or chronic, can completely derail and take down immune function. So we want to learn how to stay grounded, and chronic mood issues should definitely be dealt with. Now, when we're talking about mood and emotions and brain health, whatever you're doing to support your mood will only have maximal effectiveness if you feed your brain, because your brain has nutrient requirements. See this? Your brain is made up of 60% fat. So don't skip on the fat, minimum of 3 tablespoons a day. And one of my favorite brain foods, dark chocolate. Yep, the cocoa in dark chocolate, which is, after all, a plant food, contains compounds that are very beneficial. So feel free to enjoy an ounce or two of dark chocolate, which means that it should say on the label 70% cocoa or something close to that. How many people love chocolate? Just let me know in the chat, yes or no. Okay. We're going to speak about killer cells on the next slides. I just want you to know what they are. This is my idea of what they are. Aggressive cells that are in the first line of defense in your immune system. Okay? They basically eat viruses, digest them, and spit out the remnants. So they can no longer bother you. Okay, so we have 1 vote for chocolate. And I'm going to put in my own vote, which is going to come with many exclamation points. I love the research on dark chocolate because it gives me an excuse to dig into that delicious stuff. Okay, so nutrients are fuel for the immune system. Why? Because they help our cells to increase the number of killer cells. They block viral attachment to cells. And if that virus happens to impede the barrier, then nutrients will help your cells to decrease viral multiplication. This is a picture of an immune cell, and these are receptors, or what I like to call them, parking spots. Your cells have parking spots for specific nutrients. I was so excited when I learned this. This was to me a revelation because it said that your immune cells will only work aggressively to take down those viruses if we feed them with the cells that they're, with the nutrients that they're asking for. And those nutrients are vitamins A, D, and C, and the minerals zinc and selenium, plus the nourishment from my Whole Foods 11 that I spoke to you about. Why are these specific nutrients considered the critical ones? Well, there's research evidence for direct antiviral activity. They prevent escalation of a condition. They're deficient in most people, even nutritionists. Why is that? Because our soil is depleted. Even if you're eating kale every day, it may not have all the nutrients that you would hope because of the depleted soil. Now is the time to build up your nutrient stores. You want to have a reservoir because remember, your immune system is on surveillance 24/7. It's working and it's using up those nutrients silently as it's taking down the invaders. So you never, ever want to wait until you feel sick. It's too late. I'm going to speak about dosages in the next few slides, and those are for adults only. Vitamin D comes in 2 forms, D2 and D3. D3 is the more biologically active form. Vitamin D in so many studies has been shown to decrease the risk of getting a respiratory infection. And if you get that infection, it will decrease the severity. If you live in New York, you are most likely deficient because we get our vitamin D mostly from the sun. There's very little in food. Your lab work should read 60 nanograms per milliliter. And for most of us in the Northeast, that requires a supplement of 2,000 to 5,000 international units a day. I recommend taking vitamin D along with vitamin K. So this is an example of a supplement that has both. Or to make it less expensive, you can just take vitamin D3 and then eat foods that are high in vitamin K. Now, on my website is a free dosing guide. I'm going to put the address in the chat. Details, okay? So you could go there. If you go today, this will pop up automatically when you're on my homepage of just the regular website, which is just the regular site, it will pop up. This will tell you, based on your lab work, exactly what dose you need to take to reach the protective goal of 60. It also gives you wording on how to speak to your practitioner because you should test your vitamin D 2 to 3 times a year. And it'll give you ideas for other supplements at all cost levels. This is very important. I highly, highly recommend checking this out because vitamin D is important for brain support and for the bones. So super critical for aging well and keeping yourself from getting frail and winding up in a nursing home, because we all know what happens when you break that hip, right? Kids put you in a nursing home. Don't want that to happen. Okay, vitamin C, another fascinating nutrient story. We used to make vitamin C, but there was a hiccup in our DNA, so we don't make it, but animals make it. Here's the interesting part. When animals get sick, their bodies mass produce vitamin C until the infection is cleared. That is most likely exactly what we would do if we were still able to make it. Mass production, because the researchers call vitamin C a very powerful antiviral, and that is quote unquote from the research papers. So vitamin C is not stored. We need to eat it or take it throughout the day to have it circulating all day long. And I recommend taking 500 milligrams every day in divided doses so that you have it on board throughout the day, perhaps 250 at breakfast, 250 at dinner, and then start your day with a vitamin C food at breakfast. Yeah, having a vegetable at breakfast is one of the most important things that you can do. It's so easy to wash off a container of tomatoes and then just have a handful with your breakfast, or any of these other items here, tangerine. I actually eat these mini peppers like fruit. They're very sweet, and it gives you a way to get 3 different colors in right from the start of the day. So in addition to vitamin C, each of those colors delivers different nourishing pigments. Vitamin A reinforces the barriers, which is your first line of defense. Earlier, we spoke about how a virus can enter and set up shop in your nasal passages and your throat for a few days, replicating, and that makes its way down to the lungs. Well, Vitamin A helps your mucous membranes in your sinus and your throat to develop compounds that neutralize the pathogens. That's why I recommend daily consumption of greens. Also very important for strengthening the bones, preventing fractures, and at least twice a week, a deep yellow or orange vegetable. And you can make this so easy for yourself by baking yams. Does anybody like yams? Write that in the chat. I'm just curious because this is one of really those powerhouse vegetables. You can make, depending on how many people in your house, let's say 5 yams on Sunday, cut them in half, and then you have them all week long. Just pop them into any meal. They just need to be warmed up for a few minutes. Okay, yep, got one yes on the yams. This is a great food if you're not used to it, consider experimenting with. Now, zinc is one of those nutrients that's well known for impeding viral attachment of cells. It stops the virus from getting in. And the virus can't do anything unless it gets into a cell. And then if it does happen to breach the barrier, zinc will slow down the replication of the virus. Because when it replicates, it sends out material to neighboring cells so that they can make more viruses. Zinc is so important, and it's critically important to develop a reservoir, because when you get sick, when you start, when your body starts to attack a virus, so this is still in the preventive phase, it's just starting to neutralize something that's entered your body, it will use up your stores. That's why I recommend taking 25 milligrams a day. There are only a few foods that are high in zinc, and really oysters is at the top. Oysters has about 25 milligrams in 3 ounces. All of these other foods have about 3 milligrams. This is good if you live on Long Island and like oysters. I did not grow up liking oysters, but I had them last year. A friend of mine grilled them, and he put garlic, cheese, and parsley on, and they were delicious. Although I think what I was tasting was the garlic and the cheese and not the oyster. But anyhow, I encourage you to try them out if you haven't. Now, what you can do is take 2 of these medium sources and combine them to make a good source. Can you think of 2 things on this list that you can combine that would make a nice snack or meal? I'll give you a moment and you can write it into the chat. Okay, I'm going to give you a hint here. How about taking, see, the lentils and the mushrooms and making a lentil soup and add mushrooms? Or taking your oatmeal and adding pumpkin seeds or hemp seeds, or adding chickpeas to that salad we spoke about. And there you have a complete meal in one bowl. Okay, thank you. Chicken and garbanzo beans. Wonderful combination. And if you're not used to eating a lot of beans, garbanzo, which are also known as chickpea, or it's really a very mild tasting beans. They're very popular. It's a real easy entry into the world of legumes. Okay, or also the soup. Very good. Excellent. Thank you for that. Selenium is a nutrient that's needed really for your immune cells to work properly at all. And it's well known for preventing the escalation, for example, of bronchitis going to pneumonia. And you can get the amount of selenium you need by eating 2 medium or 1 large Brazil nut a day. Very simple. I actually keep a bowl of shelled Brazil nuts right in my pantry. So when I open the door, where I keep my kitchen pharmacy, which is literally between my soup plates and my dinner plates, I remember to take one every day. Shrimp also contains selenium, and sardines. Now, not everyone likes sardines. I trained myself to tolerate them. And I like this particular style. It's Spanish, so they put hot peppers in there, which neutralize or balance that fishy flavor. But you could slather sardines with strong salad dressing, or they come in other highly flavored sauces. Sardines are so inexpensive, and they're very, very anti-inflammatory. They contain a large amount of those omega-3 fatty acids that are really great for your body. If you have, your back muscles ache a little and you eat a can of these, I promise you, you will feel better because of their anti-inflammatory activity. What are superfoods? They are foods that contain a compound that's like a switch that sets in motion a series of steps that promotes health. So here's a great example. Turmeric can decrease the growth of cancer cells. So instead of having one cell multiply and replicate into a tumor, turmeric can stop the multiplication. Turmeric is, based on the current research, thousands of studies, over 18,000 studies, probably the most powerful superfood and anti-inflammatory that you can have in your kitchen pharmacy. Curcumin is the medicine inside of turmeric. And because it's so beneficial for helping with brain function and soothing joint discomfort, cancer prevention, I recommend daily consumption of turmeric. Now you can take that salad dressing that we already spoke about and add 2 teaspoons of turmeric. If you have a salad every day, you'll be getting a nice dose. Many nutritionists either use or recommend this supplement, which is the equivalent of a daily multiple vitamin, but it contains a balance of turmeric and other herbs that support your cell health. Very preventive health in nature. Garlic and ginger contain antibiotic compounds, and garlic develops additional compounds if you let it sit for 5 minutes after you chop it. So if you could time that out, that's a wonderful way to enhance your food. Are you getting the idea how simple this is? And you probably already use some of these items. Now, in my book, I list many other superfoods, but I'm giving you items that you may already have on hand or are very familiar with. In the beginning, I spoke about food as medicine, but I've actually started to call mushrooms medicine as food because their health benefits are just outstanding. They've been used for over 2,000 years for the medicinal properties. So wise people knew, even before the research was available, that these were special. They're not fruits, they're not vegetables, they're really in a class of their own. I recommend having mushrooms 2 times a week, make it once and then just have the leftovers the next day and cook them. Every now and then there's a person who gets a rash from a raw mushroom. Elderberries are probably my favorite immune support food. I say food because I was introduced to elderberries as a jam or a syrup. And this is a great item to put into your plain full-fat yogurt. Really is delicious, even on pancakes. Also combines very well with lemon. So you could put a little lemon juice or lemon oil and a drop or two of lemon oil in here as well. Makes a delicious snack. Elderberries are also high in zinc and vitamin C, two nutrients we already spoke about. And I think of them as a gentle daily shield of protection. Most teachers and nurses that I work with and anyone who I counsel who has high contact with crowds, they will take elderberry every day during the winter. There's over 1,200 studies on elderberries, and Hippocrates referred to the elderberry tree as his medicine chest. And now, because these benefits are becoming well known, elderberries come in so many forms. These are gummies. People remember to take them because they taste like candy. Or my personal favorite is a moonshine, which is a powder. So you can mix this with water. And this also contains powdered mushrooms. So I love the idea of combination items. Okay, probiotics. Probiotics make up 70% of your immune system. This is a picture of a gut with probiotics, and it extends to the entire body, including the brain. Very, very useful for helping to reduce like memory problems and other cognitive issues, even mood issues. Now, probiotics have been shown to prevent the need for a ventilator in hospitalized patients with pneumonia. And the best way to get probiotics is to eat a fermented food every day. You can find fermented vegetables in some stores. Right now, they're mostly in your Trader Joe's or Whole Foods type of stores. You can get fermented carrots and cabbage. Now, I'm not talking about the sauerkraut that most of us grew up with. I'm really referring to items that on the label will say raw fermented. And you could take even just a forkful of that a day, throw it on top of your salad. The other easy way to get probiotics into your gut is to eat a large variety of vegetables. And now that some of the farmers markets are going to be opening up, it's a great way to go and try something new, see what they have, and look for a recipe or ask the farmer for a recipe. Because of their tremendous benefit, head to toe, I recommend daily consumption. Now, if the concept of superfoods is new to you, consider starting out where I did with a variety of teas. I love this bronchial wellness tea, or your herbs and spices. A kitchen pharmacy is everything we spoke about, plus some of the reinforcements that we're going to speak about now as we go into phases 1 and 2. It's important because timing is everything. Once you have been exposed, or you feel like you're coming down with something, there's no time to find your notes or to shop. The secret sauce is in immediate action. Okay, so back to the beginning. We're talking about prevention here. Phase 1, foundational. Phase 2, antiviral supports with your reinforcements for a short term. Phase 1 is everything that we spoke about previously. I like to use this picture as, the anti-aging. This is what we want to avoid. Okay, work with a lot of people in my private practice who are starting to have achy joints. That is the red flag for arthritis. You want to take care of achy joints early on before they're debilitating. Personally, I had early onset arthritis, and it's been in remission for 20 years because there's so much you can do to calm inflammation and really delay the onset of that condition. Okay, your favorite term, especially this time of year, IRS. Just to help you remember, I, infection transfer, R, replication, but it's only mass replication that leads to sickness. And that brings us to phase 2. Exposure to an unhealthy person, possible viral transfer. You want to start with a timeline of 1 to 3 days. Now, there are a lot of products you can use. These are a few I'm going to mention have worked very well. If someone is constantly getting infections, then we would want to bring the products to the next level. Elderberry, take your product according to the directions. 1 extra superfood a day, such as nutritional yeast, 2 cups green tea, and 500 milligrams vitamin C at each meal and bedtime. Now, if that virus is just setting up, you might want to consider asking your practitioner if a nasal spray is right for you. This is what I personally use. It is a nasal spray that contains elderberry. And it also drips down and covers the throat a little bit as well. And I use this, I keep it in my car if I'm out and I'm running into a lot of people. As soon as I get back in my car, I'll use that. This is what nutritional yeast looks like. It has a nutty flavor. I just keep it in an old spice jar with big holes, and I sprinkle it on my salads and vegetables almost every day, actually. And then phase 3. This is when those telltale signs appear. You know something is coming on, but you no longer need to be a sitting duck because you have information and tools. Now is when you want to more aggressively work on reducing viral replication. And it's the same thing from timeline from phase 2, except the timeline is from 1 to 7 days. You're going to increase your nutritional yeast, your green tea to 3 cups, and vitamin C 500 milligrams every 2 hours. And then add on a comprehensive immune supplement. I love both of these. Most people I work with rotate both throughout the day. Start using the antiviral garlic and ginger in your food. Add a vitamin A food for sure on that day. And if you can, get out in the sunshine, even if it's a little cool, if you could just expose your arms, you will instantly feel much better. So many people tell me that. And then put aside all unnecessary activity. When you're sick, you get tired. Did you ever wonder why that was? Your immune system requires a tremendous amount of energy to do its job. If you continue to burn the candle at both ends, everything I tell you will probably not work. That's how important it is to allow the energy. You now have all of these things on board, but you need the primary resource of energy in order for your immune system to carry out the job. So it's like you can have your car really in great shape, nicely polished, ready to go. But if there's no gas in the tank, you won't energize the motor. It's the same with your body. That's how important it is to rest. And I love to write about immunity on a budget. And I just want to show you two of my favorite things. Build an immune boosting soup. Take any soup you like to make and add in two or three of the things that I spoke to you about. And then add in, 8 or 16 ounces of bone broth. Your immune cells are made in bone marrow. So when you add in bone broth, you're adding in the ingredients for your body to manufacture more immune cells. And green tea, it costs pennies a cup. Green tea is an antipathogen. So remember, as you're drinking, it's going down your throat. So it's washing over those viruses. There are studies with children, green tea preventing the flu, with nursing home residents and workers. And then two common mistakes people often make is with timing. I promise you that the secret sauce here is in immediate action. And it's hard. Trust me, I taught this for years and I wasn't even following my own recommendations. It took me a while to embrace this because we don't want to use our stuff. Our nutrients cost money and we don't feel sick. So why we, remember to take something. But this is where the magic is. And, I know I gave you a lot of information and it's okay to start small. You might fail initially as I did because I didn't do the full strategy, but that's okay. Just look at your notes and figure out what you need to add on for next time. And keep on doing that until you find yourself drastically more healthy. And then saturation. If you take vitamin C at 8 a.m., it's out of your body. It's not doing anything by 12 p.m. So you want to remember, it's easy if you remember to take something with each meal and always at bedtime, because that's when our bodies do most of our detox and healing. Aggressive viruses will continue to enter into our communities, but back to the message of hope. You can absolutely prepare ahead and be in a much, much better place to stay healthy. And it's absolutely okay to start with small action steps, experiment, and keep on adding on to your strategy until you have the formula that works for you. Adopt a new mindset. You are the primary guardian of your health. It starts every morning. Act now to build that kitchen pharmacy and just spread the word. Power is in prevention. I'm talking big power. I have taught this for years and I have so much feedback on how this works. Build resilience every day and then bring on the reinforcements when needed. If you like this kind of information, you could look at my website. I have some blogs, or you can get my book where I discuss more products. I actually have vetted many food products, and I mentioned brand names, teas, supplements, kitchen equipment, and other places to get good information. I speak at a variety of organizations. You can contact me at my website. For that, I will type in that particular link, which is or you could just go there and look for the speaking link. And I do telehealth appointments over the phone. Most what I see out is helping people with an anti-inflammatory lifestyle for achy joints. Anything diabetes, especially pre-diabetes, because all about prevention when those numbers are starting to climb. A high blood pressure and my signature New You Wellness Makeover program. If there are any questions, you can put them into the chat. I don't see any here. Let's take a moment and see. Okay, well, Nadine, thank you so much for hosting. Everything went wonderful. I appreciate